among people who back the Tea Party, some of whom are strict constructionists when it comes to the Constitution. And they've complained that the federal government routinely tramples the 10th Amendment, which reserves to the states what is not directed to the feds. My question to you is, are there any areas, any litigation that you would consider joining or filing to push back the role of the federal government, whether it be health care or even Social Security, which some people have suggested is unconstitutional under the 10th Amendment?
Yes, the 10th Amendment is extremely important to me, but that's because it's a very important part of our United States Constitution. For those of you who don't know, and I'm assuming most people do, but there is an audience beyond this room, the 10th Amendment says whatever powers we don't specifically give to the federal government are reserved for the states, but if we don't give those powers to the states, they're ultimately the powers reserved for the people. And the idea was that we were forming a government that was somewhat in the shape of a pyramid with a small amount of federal power at the top and a much larger reservoir of state power, and then truly the largest reservoir of power would reside with the people. Well, today we see a structure that is exactly the inverted, the opposite, where the federal power is overwhelming and expanding, expansive, and the state power is somewhat smaller, and truly people, the individuals and businesses seem to have much less power than was ever intended by our founders. So the 10th Amendment is very important. I have pledged to join the other 19 to 20 states that are challenging the requirement under Obamacare that individuals must purchase insurance just as a result.
How about Social Security? I mean, how far would you go to push that?
I'm not sure if this is a discussion, so I'm going to answer the original question. And I will say that
was part of the original question.
I attended this law school, and in this law school, and I've said it on the campaign trail many times, there was a visiting law professor who taught constitutional law, and I give UConn credit for still having constitutional law as a requirement. Elena Kagan at Harvard actually eliminated it and replaced it with international law. Very concerning. But that visiting law professor taught us that we didn't need to read the section of the textbook about the 10th Amendment because it really didn't matter anymore. It was a relic of the past. I can't tell you how troubled I was when I heard this, and it caused me to question and learn more about the 10th Amendment. This is truly the source of our freedom.
Your pastime. Go ahead.
Martha has been intensely critical of Richard Blumenthal for filing federal lawsuits, so I find it ironic then when there's a public policy debate where she comes out on the other side of the U.S. Congress that she's anxious to jump in and file a lawsuit herself. I think some of Dick's best work has been in challenging the federal government. Two examples: No Child Left Behind legislation, where he sought what is right, which is that the states get paid for providing these services, and then secondly, his challenge to coal burning plants in Ohio that were polluting our lungs here in Connecticut because of the prevailing winds. And we are all breathing cleaner air today because of Dick Blumenthal's work in the federal lawsuit.
Okay. Now, one last question.
Yeah.
You want to respond?
Just a quick response. I don't believe there's ever been a resolution to this No Child Left Behind litigation, and I pledge as Attorney General to bring litigation to a conclusion.
Go ahead.